Kindred, by a fluid melody, read by abstract rhyme. Chapter 5. The Truth Behind Them. All of them, Cassian groaned, dropping into cushioned stone as he palmed his face. Around him, Dominus and his council sat in the meeting room, thick with tension. All that time, holding the primes and giving them to monsters, and this happens. And it's not even an Adoni. You must admit, it was well made. Horacio poured himself a cup from a clay pitcher of water, passing it around. Had it not been for the glass, the theft would have taken longer to discover. In fact, I wager it wouldn't be noticed until the tournament started. Cassian nodded with a sour expression. The discussions on how the clans saw and organized their hunts were enlightening. No one could rest well for the next few days. Having Aegis for an acquaintance was helpful regarding information about the South. That wasn't to say Dominus trusted him, though he begrudgingly acknowledged that Nestorus was better than the rest for saving his son. No, he had some respect, but not to the point of ratting out life-saving secrets. Oh, it was true, the clan couldn't hide everything, but perfection was always the enemy. So why combat guesses when he could play with them? Better Aegis assumed that the clan stumbled upon an artifact of great power, advice from a sorcerer, or a Voltaris master attuned to the arcane, his brethren waving around paltry cantrips to mimic. Neither were entirely wrong. Then there was his own clan. Irides had the grace of being too gentle and alien to compare to the champion sent to slaughter, but it had been a delicate affair for Dominus to balance, taking every bit of oratory skill he had to convince them to give her a chance. That she had no desire to subsume their clan along with his desire to limit reliance soothed tempers that made it marginally easier. A sworn enemy, on the other hand, and a master no less? His kinsmen may respect him, but there was little doubt that should this conspiracy be discovered, few would hesitate to send him and his council to their ancestors. The primes needed to be found quickly. The north was well protected, but having so many Ardoni on alert risked issues on multiple levels, especially if they searched Northwind settlements. Kai Dominus, during the meeting you said the glass was from Aldonia. Could you elaborate? Kendra leaned over, coral eyes blazing with flecks of snow. The smith had been the first to accept Joyce's proposal, and the first to take the alien song. She succeeded, and for all her new appearance unnerved others. None could deny the benefits. That it only occurred in times of great emotion made it easier on the nerves. He thought over his words, speaking deliberately. There was mana on it, not just from the song, but the glass itself. I couldn't recognize it, but whoever made it used spellcraft to literally shape it with their hands. He struggled to describe it, how he, Kekoa, remembered digging out of burning sands with muscled brown arms, keenly aware of the whispering earth and the scalding heat even as he, Kekoa, couldn't feel anything other than a pleasant temperature. Aojana brought visions of blue flames and haunted sands, the air choking to breathe. The fire was hotter than regular flames, dangerous even for a Voltaris, but the color was a more vibrant version of the glass. The cloak was like a second Voltar, channeling and concealing his newfound power with several quirks of its own. It also gave Dominus a new set of memories to parse. In moments awake and not, he'd see through the eyes of a master, gifted for his wit and kind nature, an explorer with an eye for beauty who carried his mantle with determination and pride. When faced with his end, he only laughed, content with a life well lived and a future made brighter. A worthy goal to strive for. A mage from a different land, one familiar to a foreigner. Nicodemus ruled the words round his tongue, fixing the assembly with an even gaze. It didn't take a genius to realize what the songmaster was insinuating. I'm not saying she's responsible, but there was always the risk she was followed by less benevolent beings. Who knows what they want? To this Kindred scowled, combing her bristling shoulders. What about the Nether and the Ind? They differ from Ardonia in shape and resources, and it's possible a rogue or greater agent took them, leaving decoys to buy time. Dominus shook his head. The Ind has little reason to interfere unless it affects the realm. Stealing from an ally makes no sense, not when it requires Ardoni ancestry to wield them. Apart from hybrids, only humans can enter the order. His face grew serious for the next piece. That said, you both have a point. The Nether is known for its hellish heat and history of invasions, tasting songfire on several occasions. However, there were never records of them using magic outside of flame and lava, let alone trickery like this. The idea of a potential conquest on the horizon dampened the mood even further. Dominus genuinely couldn't tell which he preferred, the Nether or an outsider, for this to happen in an unprecedented time of peace. The times have been kind to them, beyond anyone's wildest imaginations. In this underground grove, his people toiled in safety and comfort. Homes, true homes, built with the entirety of his clan in mind. Once meager tents and belongings were replaced with caves and dens. Furniture and similar luxuries others took for granted growing more and more commonplace as Ardoni adapted to a stabilized lifestyle, taking on new crafts and professions. Despite the lingering fear, they thrived. Looking upon growing farms and hearing the soft sounds of community brought him a sense of ease he never felt in all his centuries. He cherished this impossibility as much as he never forgot who was responsible for it. Either way, we'll have to talk to her. She freely admitted to visiting both realms and wouldn't hesitate to speak more. Nike would want that, the clan's best healer and Nicodemus's older sister. It was little secret that each life she couldn't save wore deeply on her. It was no wonder how she took the otherworldly knowledge, whether it came from their neighbor's mouth or the wagon full of books she gifted on a dizzying array of topics. True, they had used them to aid in their burgeoning farms and industry, but attempting to recreate the more complex fields required exotic ingredients or skills that no Ardoni had available. Dominus lost count of the number of times he or another Voltaris had to drag both siblings from the library, or tell them they couldn't afford to exploit said information, not that it stopped them from trying. By the stars, several Ardoni swore, seeing the duo hover near the forges, with papers full of bewildering designs and indecipherable doodles, eyeing the poor smiths into running away. Well, until Kindred came out. Then there was a higher likelihood of guards getting involved. Would she be able to? The false prime is back in Astoria, and I doubt Aegis will give it up. Cassian folded his arms. It was true that they were hindered without the Aggressium, but thankfully Dominus had an alternative. We don't need to. I cannot replicate the mana, but an illusion of the glass, and Owl Janna's visions should suffice. Kendra's fingers tapped against the stone table, giving a slow nod. There's also Yggdrasil. Seeing the theft occur would solve most of our problems. Yggdrasil, the verdant origin, associated with the underpinnings of nature, including time. Outright time travel was out of the question, but the same couldn't be said for witnessing the past. Dominus felt like smacking himself for not being the one to suggest it. Won't this require going to the provinces, or the false prime? It won't work without a link. To his relief, Nicodemus shook his head at Horatio. Dominus held our target, and can be used to trace it back to the source. It's stressful, but not unfeasible. Matter settled, Dominus turned to his council. We will leave at dawn. With luck, this matter will end quickly. He'd go sooner, but the weather wasn't in their favor. The storm predicted to last till the early morn. If found, do we keep them? Nike's question brought a pregnant pause. To have them back, safe from blood-stained hands, and into their original bearers, was a tempting idea. No more corruption, no more war? Wasn't that worth everything? Then reality spurred its ugly head. The clans already suspect us. If we keep them, they'll cause more harm than worth. Each word tasted like ash from Dominus's mouth. Any chance to return to Voltoria would burn, and for all the protection she provides, there are limits. There were always limits. Their shared aunt had made it clear that for all her power, she was not omnipotent, and Dominus was not complacent enough to test that. Even if Aegis vouched for them, it was too risky, especially if knowledge of her actual origins were to spread. To do so would bring more than Ardoni after them, the power-hungry and desperate, clawing at her mercy, regardless of species or means. To claim them risks not 4, but 10. Nocturne and the Heart were claimed, but the last 4 had no true heirs here. The idea of Thalius Sandaris coming after his clan, his son, with the sentinel in his veins, sent shivers down his soul. I cannot see all the masters passing the trials, but I refuse to tempt fate on this. Not an initiation isn't bound to only Ardoni. If found, we will return them. It would indebt Aegis and ward off attention from the barrier. Dominus was keenly aware of the power behind words. Not all beings treated them like frippery, and some oaths and debts were above all, even at death's door. A smile, refusal, wing against blood-veined steel. To put the Nestor's master in one was a bargain he couldn't refuse. Not if his suspicions about his character proved correct. Let them believe we are weak. We have waited half a millennium to return home. We can wait a little longer if it means more time to grow. None disagreed, no matter how unhappy they were. The risks were too high to gamble like this, and the hunts were still fresh in their minds. Like the mythical firebird, his clan would rise from the ashes, wiser and greater thanks to learning from their mistakes. Dominus would ensure nothing less. Dear Dominus, I will be occupied until tomorrow evening, and wish to give you this in early. I believe your clan will wield them well. Should you prefer they be forged, you need only ask when I return. I apologize for not coming personally, but a dear friend of mine has come to visit. If you'd like, I'd love to introduce you to a respected peer. Sincerely, Joyce. Dominus stared at the innocuous chest, dread building as he slowly removed the lid. Securely wrapped in layers of red velvet were 6 songs, brilliant and greater than any other. Next to him, his son choked as their home was filled with the sounds of faint growls and scribbling quills, crackling thunder intermixed of alien instruments and chants, clashing with throaty laughter. Aljana stirred, dredging up memories of hazy faces and ill-defined voices, memories that struck Dominus with a nostalgia not his own. Father? Are those... Ingressus trails off, transfixed by the chromatic display. Are those songs? The tune, I've never heard anything like it. I know origin songs are different, but these are so... energetic, tantalizing, imposing. All these and more swirled in Ingressus's head, but his father had only one thought. Damn the stars, not again.